Welcome in to the Scoop Podcast, the number one UNC football recruiting podcast in the world, part of the Inside Carolina Podcast Network. And of course, this podcast is brought to you by our good friends at Johnny T-Shirt and GiantT-Shirt.com, the best and most local place for all your UNC apparel and gear. As always, I'm your host, Ross Martin, and I'm joined by Donnie Scoops Callahan. What's going on, Don?
Not too much. Got some sunburn this past weekend while in Myrtle Beach for a 7-on-7 tournament.
Okay.
So besides that, it's just
no sunscreen?
No, maybe I'm just a dumbass because, it's cold out. I just don't think about throwing sunscreen on. And I think really is a little bit of wind burn also, combination of the two. So yeah, and I don't notice it until like it's over with. And then I'm like, man, my face just burned. So yes, I'm dealing with a little bit of that because I didn't get sunburn on my arms or my legs at all.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes me think that's a little bit more wind burn. What's going on in Ross's life? I don't know what I'm allowed to say or ask about your undisclosed location.
Yeah, thoughts and prayers to you. Things are good, man. Basketball season's heating up, and just completely focused on Inside Carolina and bringing our readers and viewers the best content.
Isn't that the way it always is?
That's all I do. Of course, guys, if you could subscribe to the Inside Carolina podcast wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, rate the show and review the show. That would be great. Helps us and helps the Inside Carolina podcast get a little more pub there. Let's get right into it, guys. We have a pretty interesting show, a little bit different. We have two bits of news we're going to get to first. We're going to dive into the mailbag. We reached out to the Inside Carolina subscribers on the Tar Pit message board and asked for questions. So we got a bunch of different questions about recruiting, a little team stuff, a little UNC stuff, and some kind of off-topic stuff, some fun questions there. So stay tuned for the mailbag. I think you'll get a lot from kind of the variety of questions that range all across kind of UNC football and UNC football recruiting. Then we're going to wrap up with our top five. Don, what was the top five again? You had the better explanation of it.
Yeah, so it was actually a dual top five. The first one was the top five improvements to the new NCAA football video game. And because I knew that a lot of people would be not be able to contribute to that, we also had, and I knew you were one of those people. What were the top five things you did as opposed to spending your days indoors playing video games? So that was your top five, and then we actually have one submitter who did both, which was great.
Awesome. And the top five for next time we record.
Top five is the top five movie sequels. And so this was an idea that came from a poster who actually posed it to me. But as I was kind of thinking it through, I thought it'd be great top five for the podcast. And as everyone knows, you can submit your top five on Twitter. Tweet at me at Don Callahan IC, or on the message board. Don Callahan, I think, is just PM me on the message board, or you can email me if you must. Don at InsideCarolina.com.
Okay, so two bits of news first, then we're going to dive into the mailbag and then the top five. Let's get right into it. Don, there was some news in the football recruiting world about the dead period. Do you want to go ahead and kind of talk about that first?
Yeah, so back, I don't even know how long ago it was, the dead period was extended all the way until April 15th, which was just to basically kind of let the 2021 class know that you're not going to be able to take visits until after signing day, if even then. And so last week, the NCAA came out and extended that all the way until May 31st, which obviously gave a lot of recruits who are hopeful to make some visits. 2022 recruits who are hopeful to take some visits starting in April, basically told them that you're not going to be able to take any visits until the summertime. And obviously, this is just slowing down recruiting. There have been commitments. North Carolina has 3 of them. And there's another recruit who we'll get into shortly. Is going to announce on Friday. But there are a ton of recruits who are just in a standstill because they just don't have a feel for their schools. They haven't been able to make any visits, so it's difficult for them to make a decision.
Yeah, and there'll be no visits either way until May 31st.
Yeah. Well, until June 1st. Yeah,
June
because
1st, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So even spring football, I mean, tons of spring football going on in
yeah.
Virginia, North Carolina now. So no coaches will go to those games.
Mm-hmm.
No players can visit UNC or
Mm-hmm.
any other school during spring practices, spring game, which is a big time for visits, as is June. And so you would think June 1st, you would maybe have some camps or just visits. What do you think? Probably not any
Well,
school sponsored
well,
camps, right?
that's the hope. North Carolina actually has camps scheduled, and some of that is just logistic wise. You have to have the fields reserved.
Mhm.
And it's not just reserved; it's more of making sure you have the landscapers and all the utility guys kind of available to kind of handle different things.
Mhm.
Uh, but from sources I've spoken to at North Carolina, they actually expect it to be extended even further. So some people projected to be expanded all the way until August, which is crazy. And I think it just comes down to the fact that one, the NCAA has so many other things on its plate. It has the
Mhm.
NCAA tournament, which is its cash cow. So obviously that takes priority. Has all these other COVID issues with other sports that it's dealing with. It has the name, image, likeness stuff, which we've talked about before, that it's dealing with. And then I don't think that the NCAA knows how to handle this. Because what do? Do you have some sort of protocols for visits? If you do have protocols, who sets those protocols? Is it the NCAA? Is it some sort of committee they put together? Is it the individual schools? Is it the conferences? So I think the NCAA is like, you know what? This is just a huge headache. We have other things to worry about. Let's just kick this can down the road, which obviously is harming these kids' recruitments.
Yeah, I saw a quote from Texas A&M's athletic director kind of coming out against how long they're waiting for the dead period, that they're really hurting student athletes, hurting the recruits, not giving them the time um, to visit, to figure out their options, and it's really affecting the 2022 class and 2023 for that factor as well. Do you think UNC, I mean, look, no visits between now and May and June 1st. Do you think UNC is going to have a lot of movement in recruiting or maybe one or two commitments between now and then?
I think you still will see some movement, not
Yeah.
nearly as much as we would have seen if there was or if there
Hmm.
was not a dead period. There's going to be guys like Fisher Anderson has already scheduled a quarantine visit to North Carolina. I think you'll see a couple other kids do similar quarantine sort of visits just to kind of progress their recruitment. But obviously, the vast majority aren't going to do these sort of visits. They want to see the coaches in person, speak to them in person, check out the facilities in
Hmm.
depth, and that you can't do unless it's not a dead period.
When you say quarantine visit, you mean like the video visit where
No, no,
it,
no. So quarantine visit is basically so the actual dead period means no in-person interaction between a recruit
okay.
and a college coach. But there's nothing to stop a recruit from going on campus and walking campus by
Yeah.
himself.
So
Now the NCAA,
that's the quarantine visit.
yes,
Coming to
now
campus by yourself
yes,
with family or
and
whatever.
the strange thing that I just don't understand, the NCAA actually prohibits if a kid is on campus right now, right this second, walking around campus, if they call Mac Brown can't answer that call or it's a violation. Mac
Yeah.
Brown also, or any of the assistant coaches, cannot provide any sort of like guided map or anything like that.
Yeah.
And some of this is because the
Zero
NCAA,
interaction. Zero
yes,
interaction. Yeah.
yes,
Makes
the
sense.
NC the NCAA doesn't want to change what a dead period is because eventually we're going to be out of this sort of stuff with the pandemic and dead periods they want to be truly dead periods. But
Hmm.
so I get that part of it, but I think some sort of waivers to allow even some virtual interaction while these kids are on campus would be beneficial. And I think you'll see a lot more kids getting more out of these quarantine visits, maybe more taking them, so it's not such a huge problem.
No doubt. Awesome. Okay. Well, dead period until May 31st. That's the new news. I mean, do you think they're going to send it again, or you think this is final?
I people I talk to expect them to extend it again.
Oh, really? Okay. Wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
because I
which
think, I mean, not to get too into COVID here. I mean, people getting vaccinated left and right. I think by midsummer, late summer, you're going to have, most people having the opportunity to get the vaccine.
yeah, and I completely agree. But again, I think it's just the NCAA doesn't know how to deal with it. Doesn't know how to kind of handle actual visits, and then they're just like, we have other things to worry about.
Yeah.
Let's just continue to extend this.
Are you pro-vaccination or anti-vaccination?
I mean, I guess I'm pro. I mean,
Okay.
if I am not in one of the top categories. I assume I am in, even though you think I'm really old. I
Not,
assume
that's
that
not where
I'm
I was
in.
going.
I assume I'm in the last category that will be allowed to get a vaccine, and that's fine with me. And what about you?
You
Are
don't
you
think
going to
you're
get?
you don't think you're high risk at all?
You're gonna you're gonna go the weight.
Nah,
No,
you're in
I
good
do
shape.
not.
Hey, you
Will you
walk
be?
10 minutes a day. There you go.
Will, will you uh will you get vaccinated when you can?
Yes.
Okay,
My
sounds good.
parents my parents both got the vaccination, so
Oh, did they?
that's good news.
How difficult was that for that? Because I've heard horror stories about how much of a
Oh.
pain in the butt it's been.
Oh, I mean, I think it's fine. I think if you want it, you just do it. I mean, just wait in
My
line or whatever.
sister is a nurse and she got vaccinated,
Yeah.
and but she didn't have any issues as far as she got
Yeah, my mom said it didn't even like hurt or anything. Usually, some people said you get some symptoms after the second shot,
hmm
but she didn't have any of that stuff.
Well, I'm talking more along the lines of just
Yeah, yeah.
getting
The hassle
information.
of getting it and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. I think it's difficult to find it if you're not in that age group, but you got to have a kind of work with it. All right, enough vaccination talk. Next topic: Malachi Hamrick, the 2022 outside linebacker from Shelby High School. Shout out David Ray Allen, 6'4", 205, ranked the number 143 player in the nation, the number 12 outside linebacker, and the number 5 player in the state of North Carolina. He's a 24/7 Sports composite 4-star. He is announcing his college decision on Friday. Don, you want to give us a little preview? You want to talk about Malachi for a bit here? This would be UNC's definitely in it, and if you were to commit to UNC, he'd be the 4th commitment for the Tar Heels in the 2022 class.
Yeah. So his official final 5 are Appalachian State, UNC, Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Penn State. But since he released that top 5 back, I think it was towards the end of last year, it has come out and he has kind of verified that it's down to North Carolina and Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to receiving his UNC offer, and I think this is significant, he went on the record and told me that if North Carolina offers him, he might commit on the spot. That's
Holy.
how high he was on North Carolina. Obviously, that didn't happen, but that speaks to just his high ingrained interest in North Carolina. The other thing, Shelby is very pro North Carolina area, and then as far as a player, I mean, he's exactly what Jay Bateman looks for in that outside linebacker, rush linebacker position, because Hamrick is an edge rusher. That's what he is. That's what he's best at. He's quick off of the snap, and just has long arms, which is a huge asset in pass rushing, and gets to the quarterback. And even though Shelby doesn't play a whole lot of passing teams, I don't have his numbers in front of me, but he has some really good sack numbers from his sophomore season, because he's going to kick off his junior season right after he announces his commitment on Friday.
You're almost I mean, he seems like he fits the ideal spot for the outside linebacker position in Jay Bateman's defense, especially with the height. I mean, he looks almost identical to what Gabe Stevens is, almost a little bit taller though. He's 6'4", Malachi 6'4", Gabe Stevens is 6'3", similar weight, kind of lean, long and lean. Put on some weight, he'll be a beast, right? Is that kind of how you see it?
Yeah. I think I've seen Gabe. I've seen them both more recently. Gabe is a little bit more has a little bit more bulk since I think those weights were put on.
Yeah, 205 is pretty skinny for 6'4".
Yeah, and I think he's probably like 6'3" ish, and might be even south of 200. I mean, he's a skinny kid. Seeing him in person, and I saw him during practice when they thought they might have a season in North Carolina. I saw him at practice, but obviously, I mean, his explosiveness is where it's at. I mean, adding weight is the easiest thing to do, or easiest thing to improve on once you get into a college program.
You can't teach height.
You cannot.
Yeah.
But you can add weight.
Exactly. We are recording this, just a full disclosure here. We're recording this Wednesday morning. But this will not be released until Friday morning.
Yeah, so he might have made his decision by the time you listen to this.
According to the powers that be. Yeah, if you listen to this a little bit later on Friday or over the weekend, the decision may have already been announced. So we apologize for that, but this is the preview. Will you be attending the commitment, or how's that going to happen? Is there an announcement? What's the situation there? Is there something you can tell us that there?
Yeah. So I will be there, and we will. We always attempt to stream the commitments that I'm present at, recently, last couple of years. Now, the problem with, we won't completely advertise that until I'm actually there and the stream is up and working, because there are a lot of obstacles that we have to work through to get the stream working, internet quality, obviously location, all that sort of stuff. People complain about the Dante Belfour announcement because we were just placed in a really bad position. And Ben and I actually talked about, okay, do we run this, or we just close this stream off? And we decided, really? Yeah. I mean, that's what goes into it. And
I guess something's better than nothing, right?
Yeah. And that's what our thinking was, is, okay, you might not be able to see it, but at least you can kind of see something,
Well, how do you feel about people who complain about things that you're doing that they wouldn't have otherwise?
Yeah. I mean, go to any of the other websites, whether on 24/7 Sports or on Rivals, and see what they're doing. And then come back to me and complain. I can promise you they're not doing these sort of things.
It's kind of similar to like people who listen to our podcast. Like, this is free. Like, we don't have to do this, but we are doing it for you. So, like, I mean, let's chill out with the complaints and just enjoy it. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy the journey that's Don Callahan.
And Ross Martin.
That's right. Okay, Malachi Hamrick. It seems like a UNC lean, just as a outside observer with no insight. An outside lean, outside linebacker leaning towards the Tar Heels, announcing his decision this Friday. When you're listening to this podcast, 6'4", 205, a 4-star, a high-ranked 4-star, number 5 player in the state. And if he does commit to the Tar Heels, he'd be the 4th player in the 2022 class to pledge to Mac Brown and UNC. Let's take a break. When we get back, we will talk. We'll break down the mailbag. We have 10-plus questions for Don and myself on recruiting, on UNC football. Off topic, we'll get right into that. But first, I want to talk to you about Johnny T-Shirt and JohnnyT-Shirt.com. I'm on their website, the most local UNC store right on Franklin Street. Their headquarters are in the warehouse, and headquarters are in Hillsboro. Super local store, Johnny T-Shirt and JohnnyT-Shirt.com. Get all your UNC apparel. They have everything: T-shirts, sweatshirts, shorts, jerseys, things for the home office, things for the kitchen, things for your car. Baseball season's kicking off. You want to get your baseball jerseys to wear at home while you watch the games on the ACC network. They have a 75% off sale on a lot of different things. They always have sales, always trying to move gear. They have, I'm looking at right now, the fan favorites. Don, you ready?
I'm ready.
Fan favorites. Knit Argyle socks for $9.99. A repeating UNC logo belt, $26.99. Jerseys, hats. What else are fan favorites? Baseball jerseys, throwbacks, limited edition Nike retro basketball jersey, a great gift. Tons of different types of hats, toboggans, Beat Duke shirts, soccer sweatshirts, Navy football jerseys, tons of great gear. Get that at Johnny T-Shirt and JohnnyT-Shirt.com. And remember, Don, all Inside Carolina subscribers can get 10% off every purchase from Johnny T-Shirt and JohnnyT-Shirt.com with the promo code found on the premium message boards for basketball and football. There's no better time to be a Inside Carolina subscriber. You also get a free subscription to the CBS All Access, which is going to be called Paramount Plus. So you get an Inside Carolina subscription. You get 10% off Johnny T-Shirt. You get a subscription to Paramount Plus, CBS All Access. It's a win-win-win. And so do that, Johnny T-Shirt, JohnnyT-Shirt.com. We're going to have some national ads, and we'll be right back for the Inside Carolina Scoop Podcast Mailbag. And we're back. What's going on, Don?
Just sitting here talking to my best friend, even though he's so far away. I feel like I could touch him. Of course I miss you.
Yeah, we'll have to get together when we get back with plexiglass between us.
Yeah. With you cooking meat.
That's right. Yeah, big weight gain coming up here in the spring. I'm lean right now. I got to put on a little muscle for the summer. All right, Don, we got a bunch of questions on the mailbag. We appreciate everybody who submitted questions on the Tar Pit Premium Message Board. We'll get right into it. We're going to hopefully I'll talk too much about each one, but give some insight. Most of these are for Don, a couple for me, and we'll just have a little conversation here on all these questions, and then we'll get right into the top 5 after that. Ready, Dom?
I'm ready.
I'm going to read them all, and then whoever answers them, okay?
All right.
This is kind of two questions are very similar, so I'm going to read both of them.
Okay.
The recruit over Don's career who he had the worst read on in terms of his ultimate decision, like thought he was coming to UNC or didn't think he was coming to UNC, vice versa. And then similarly, what was your biggest miss when it comes to recruits? Someone you thought was a lock and they went elsewhere, or vice versa.
All right. So, as you know, Ross, you did the recruiting game for a few years. We have a pretty good idea. In some instances, we know flat out who the kid's going to choose. And usually, if we don't know, you kind of feel like it's not going to be North Carolina. So it's hard for me to kind of answer this because, I mean, even in situations like I flew out to
Kansas
for Arthur Brown. One of the first, we talked about streaming. One of the first, I think as the first recruit that we tried to stream the announcement for was Zamir White. We didn't know what was going on in those situations. And as you know, and college coaches will tell you this, if you don't know, you're not getting them, sort of thing. So yeah, I kind of was like, yeah, North Carolina's probably not going to get them. The only one that kind of pops in my mind a little bit, Jalen Dalton. Yeah, I felt like North Carolina had a really good shot. North Carolina's probably going to get him. He didn't let the coaches know until right before, like maybe like a couple hours before. And so when I left the house for that announcement, I didn't know for certain, but then I, received a phone call from someone who informed me that he had committed to North Carolina. So obviously I felt good about my announcement. Javari Ritzy was one who I didn't know, and he didn't tell.
But you knew he was coming to UNC.
Well,
I mean, I knew he was.
I felt pretty confident. He didn't commit to North Carolina, I think, until North Carolina kind of forced his arm a little bit and said, "Hey, what are you doing? You need to let us know before you announce." And that was like an hour before. But yeah, I mean, his mom was really, I mean, she's a super, super nice lady, and she probably would have worked with me regardless. But I'm assuming that maybe at some point she would have been like, "Hey, it's not worth your time." But her and I worked together for me to be there, for me to stream and all that sort of stuff because it was happening in her backyard.
Now, let's go back to Zamir White.
Okay.
Because I was there. Michelle was there.
So yeah, Michelle was there to help.
And that was your first streaming thing, right?
I believe so. But yeah, Michelle was there to kind of help with the streaming.
So did you think where did you think he was going?
I thought he was going to Georgia.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Georgia he's another one where I knew Zamir when he was a freshman. And
he was a big time recruit, huge recruit.
Yeah. And so at that point, I can't remember. I feel like his coach kind of, like when I was talking to Zamir, his coach kind of threw in there, "Oh, he's a big Georgia fan." So that always kind of stuck in my mind, and obviously that played a big role in his decision. So yeah, I didn't know for certain, so my assumption was Georgia. But this was one of those things where it was like a 5-star guy. So if he picked North Carolina, it would have been huge. And then also Scotland County is what, like an hour and a half away. Ish.
Yeah, like you had to be there just in case.
Yeah. I mean, it's too close to skip it.
Yeah.
Now I did skip. I had Peyton Page's announcement. I did not know, although it felt like it was Clemson. And he had limited seats because this happened during I guess the meat of the COVID stuff.
Yeah.
And so I had someone else, a news reporter that I knew, who really needed to be there. And I kind of gave up my seat because I just,
Yeah.
North Carolina.
Okay, so to move this along, was there anybody who committed to UNC that really surprised you? I guess Jalen Dalton was one of them. Kind of. Was there anybody else you can think of?
I mean, there's commitments that kind of come out of nowhere.
What about Mike Paulus?
I had a really good relationship with Mike Paulus.
Okay,
He's probably yeah. I mean, that was probably one of the first ones where I had the actual story beforehand.
Yeah, I was in college during that.
Thanks. Elijah Green, who committed a couple of years ago. That came out a little bit out of nowhere for me.
Well, there's always the ones that happen a little quick and surprising.
Yeah, and some of it is like the coaches decide that morning, okay, let's accept this commitment.
Yeah.
They call the kid and they say, if you commit right now, we'll accept it. If you don't, then, and I think that kind of played a role in Elijah Green, because that's when they kind of realized they wanted to take a third running back,
Yeah.
because they realized that Elijah Burris, his academics were just in really bad shape and weren't improving.
It's well, yeah. Elijah Green wasn't a massive recruit. So there's tons of those little smaller recruitments. Like Javonte Williams, like that surprised me because we didn't even know that UNC was even recruiting him. I mean, this is from my perspective. But then he was offered and he committed.
Yes.
Yeah. And like Marcus McKeithen was surprising. It just happened kind of at a weird time. I remember.
Mm-hmm.
We knew he went to that camp, and then he committed.
You skipped that camp. I remember you.
I was there when he came. 100%.
I don't remember. Are you sure?
Marcus McKeithen came in late, and I remember Coach Cap was like, this guy, whatever. He's a big dude coming in from like South Carolina, and he came a little late with a buddy, and then ran the 40. He was like pretty athletic.
Yeah.
I was at every camp. You skipped it probably.
Dude, I went to every camp.
Okay, moving on. We gotta get through these.
Yeah. I told you it's gonna take forever.
Yeah. Back in the day, there were stories of schools setting up recruits with dates, in quotations, during their visits. Does any of that happen now or in the past that you are aware of? And I think with dates, I think they mean female students or whatever.
Female companions. Well, Hugh Freeze says it happens, or at least his cell phone records do. I stay away from all that stuff.
You don't ask questions about it.
I don't ask questions about that. That's not going to benefit me in the least. So I would assume, and I'm not talking about North Carolina, I'm talking about in general, that it definitely happens, and it probably happens fairly regularly. And I'm sure that there's certain schools that do it more than others, and I'm sure there's certain schools that advise their coaches not to do it at all, and they don't do it.
Well, first of all, this is fact. They have college women who help with recruiting. They are there on the visits. They're there at the football games. They're kind of escorting the players and families through the facility on tours. There's a group of women, and maybe it was a little bit bigger in the 90s and 2000s than it is now, but there's certainly college women that assist in recruiting in certain ways. So that happens.
Yeah, but I think, though, we need to make sure we point out that those at UNC, I believe they're called ambassadors, and they are not there for purposes beyond the touring.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm sure, I'm going to speak freely here, and this is nothing.
Oh boy.
This is nothing I know, and this is not fact or anything, but look, college kid comes on campus and he is there for an official visit or unofficial visit, hanging out, get to know the team. He's going to go to some parties. He's going to go to in the dorm. This is obviously pre-COVID or post-COVID. Go to fraternity parties, go to different situations. And there's going to be women there. And they're gonna be like, "Hey, this guy's a 5-star recruit, 4-star recruit. Meet him. Hey, Sally, this is, blah blah." So yeah, it happens. But I guess Don doesn't know too much about the how that the inner workings.
When it comes to any of that stuff,
and no coach is going to tell us anything about that.
Yeah, but I'm not even going to ask that stuff. That doesn't do me any good.
Yeah. Do you think we did a good job talking about this in a safe way that won't get us
Yes,
in trouble?
I think so. I don't think well, you never know. You never know what's going to offend somebody. But I think we're good. Let's go to the next question now.
Okay, this is more speculation than scoop, but on opening day for football, who do you think UNC's 2 deep will be at running back? And how about throwing a third name in there that may be more of a wild card?
I got mine.
Who you think has the tools to push for one of those spots if things fall into place for them? Okay, 2 deep.
You want mine? So I don't.
Yeah, I think yours is gonna be the same as mine, though. I have mine.
Okay, all right. Mine, Ty Chandler. Obviously, they're not going to bring him in. If not, if they didn't think he could be that guy, that veteran guy. DJ Jones, which the staff speaks highly of, and then Caleb Hood. I think that he's physically ready. And
do you think Caleb Hood passes Elijah Green?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I mean, there's no way. What are you?
I was going to say Ty Chandler and Caleb Hood because DJ Jones is injured.
Okay. Well, you would know. But what's the extent or the nature of the injury?
I think it's a broken foot. I think it's a foot injury, or I don't want to speculate. I think it's something to do with, obviously it's a leg or body injury.
Okay.
But I don't think he's going to be ready for spring.
Okay.
And we can figure that out. So he might be a little bit behind, but yeah, Ty Chandler. I think you're right. Ty Chandler, Caleb Hood, or DJ Jones. And I think Elijah Green is very similar to DJ Jones. And I think Caleb Hood provides a different type of player, more of a power back. He's 230 already. He's probably going to put on some more lean muscle in the strength and conditioning program. January, February, March in the summer. So
Well, what about Josh Henderson? I'm just throwing his name out there. He'll be a junior.
yeah, backup, reserve,
Okay. So
alongside
you think
British
a
Brooks.
lot of you think these guys pass him completely?
Well, I'm basing this Caleb Hood take on you and your information providing me. So this is all on you.
Okay.
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 Moving on.
But I mean the DJ Jones and Elijah Green stuff. I mean, do you think those two will be or currently are ahead of Josh Henderson?
I think Josh Henderson and DJ Jones and Elijah Green are probably pretty similar, but one more year in spring, one more year of strength and conditioning would separate them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to the next question.
Okay. I always enjoy Don's discussion on past players' recruitments that stick out to him. Let me just I'll kind of massage this question. Give me two commitments that when you think about UNC football recruiting that stick out to you.
Recruitments, or because the question says something about interviews.
No, you're looking at the wrong one.
Okay. All right. Past recruitments that stick out to me. God. Here's the problem with this for me. I had the worst memory. Okay. And so, and I've been doing this for almost 20 years. And I think a lot of people always ask me, how can I remember all these names? And I think what happens is my brain erases itself each class so that only the current class names are in my brain. So it's so hard for me to kind of look back on what recruitments.
Elijah Hood.
Elijah Hood was a crazy recruitment because of.
Usually the ones that have commitments and decommitments.
Decommitments, yeah.
Decommitments.
Yeah, and there's a lot of speculation on it. Elijah Hood sticks out. Oh man. I mean, Greg Little, if we want to go real far back.
Did you cover Marvin Austin too?
I did. That happened super quick for North. So
why do you think it happened super quick?
Because of John Blake. His might have started recruiting Marvin Austin before he was actually officially a UNC assistant coach. But
okay, so that's good. That's 3 ones right there. What was Greg Little's deal?
Greg Little he's another one I knew for a really long time and just blew up. And I remember him having he had an announcement. It was a college announcement. And his announcement was to announce that Notre Dame and North Carolina were his finalists. That's what ultimately ended up being. But heading into it, it was supposed to be a commitment announcement. And then he ultimately committed to Notre Dame. And then on signing day, flipped to UNC. The interesting thing with that was that this was back when JB was really kind of helping us a lot. And I'm pretty sure it was JB. I can't remember where I was, but I was somewhere. I was planning on going somewhere else, and at the last minute, the day of, we received a tip that Greg Little was going to flip to North Carolina, and then JB was sent to cover that. I believe that's how it played out. Man, this is 2007, so that's a long time ago. But yeah,
interesting. All right, next question. Class or all-time superlatives? A bunch here. Best interview. Most surprising how they turned out, I guess, from recruit to player. Oddest interaction. Pretty much anything Don's seen and not supposed to say, but as time has passed, he can now say it to us on the podcast because he loves us. Okay, so let's go down. Let's go real quick. Ready? You got to do flash announcements here.
Okay.
Okay, best interview.
Eric Ebron.
Okay, done. And that's probably proved true through his playing career and as a pro. Most surprising how they turned out. So that's as a recruit to as a UNC player, I guess either good or bad.
Man, I know that there definitely were guys who I didn't think all that highly of, and they definitely turned out to be really good players from North Carolina, and I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Okay.
Any that you could think of?
Something.
Can you think of any who
did
were?
You think Switzer was going to be as good as he was? Ryan Switzer?
Yeah. I mean, he was pretty hyped up.
Okay.
Maybe I don't know. Oh man.
Shaquille Rashad. I'm just thinking of guys that I covered. Okay. Well, sorry guys. Don blew on that
Sorry,
one.
I
All right.
failed.
Oddest interaction. I told Don prepare for these, but going through each question, it seems like he failed in that. All right. Oddest interaction.
Hottest interact. There's a lot of them, and they're probably not. Most of them are probably not like actual. You ended up at UNC. Just there could be weird. The only one I could think of is like I had a crew a really really long time ago, and this is when I was doing more of the regional beat, and I had a kid tell me he committed to Southern Cal, and he didn't, and it was just really odd. And then he eventually I think he was maybe it was his friend who picked up the phone and was messing with me or whatever, but eventually I kind of realized it didn't make sense. I was asking a bunch of questions, and he hung up the phone on me eventually. And there's been, all right. So here's I got one. I got another one. Okay. Well, it's similar to this. I mean, I've been hung up on a bunch. Jaleel or Jalen Sneed. Okay. This is a guy this class who, a couple weekends ago, he doesn't like doing interviews. So send him text messages, try to get him on the phone, all that sort of stuff. Called him. He answered the phone. I said, "Hey, how you doing?" He said, "Good. How you doing?" I said, "Good." And then click. So I think, oh, we're disconnected. Called him back, no answer. Waited 5 minutes, called him back, no answer. So so he hung up. But there's tons of kids, like back before social media and stuff. There were guys who they would keep their number secret, and when then you finally get a hold of it, you call it, and then they realize you're a reporter, they hang up on you. Most guys are pretty. This is why I like to kind of go and meet kids in person, and they know who I am, and they store my number in their phone and that sort of thing, because eventually these kids get so bombarded with phone calls, they only answer who they know, and then if somebody they don't know, then they'll hang up on you.
What about Tommy Hatton? Anything with him?
Tommy Hatton, first of all, he was always willing to do an interview. Okay, so he's the opposite. Super intense, and we probably don't have time to go into the story with you and Tommy Hatton, how he wanted to kill you, but that probably takes a cake for the oddest. This is when you and I weren't working together, and I seriously was concerned for your life.
I don't want to get
and I loved how he was just dogging you the one day.
I legally cannot speak about it.
Really?
Nah, I just don't.
All right, I was gonna say, because I mean, to me, it got. I was worried. I didn't know what was going to happen. That was the day of a freak show camp, and I'm like, oh man, this is like 8 hours. Is Ross going to live?
Yeah, but for the record, it was a complete misunderstanding. He read something. No, I think we were working together, Don. Because it happened because of a post on Inside Carolina. Yeah.
Okay, maybe we were.
I posted something and he completely misinterpreted it. I just had no idea what he was talking about.
That's funny.
But he was.
It was still funny.
I mean, it was funny. It was funny from the outside when your life wasn't being threatened. Okay.
It was funny how he kept on bringing up your short shorts.
Yeah, it's like, dude, I've been wearing short shorts for the last freaking 34 years of my life. Like, nothing's changed. The length of my shorts have been the same my whole life. Okay.
That's weird.
So it's like doesn't even affect me. Okay. I'm gonna skip the Cam Newton thing. We don't have time for that.
Yeah, let's get into Cam Newton things.
No, we don't have time. Relevant. I mean, what? I didn't see it, and it seems it's not related to UNC. Okay. Would be interested to hear a rundown of Don's most memorable recruiting traits. Okay, Don, you ready for this? I know you didn't prepare it all for this podcast, but I'm going to say a word, and you tell me the thing comes to mind, okay?
Okay.
Quickest.
TJ Logan.
Fastest.
Oh, man. Kedrick Davis.
Okay. Best route runner.
Either Josh Downs or Moose Muhammad.
Okay, Moose Muhammad committed to
not a North Carolina guy, but yeah.
You cover his recruitment. Fastest change of pace.
Oh man,
Switzer.
Yeah, we'll go Switzer. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, when he got the ball as a player, when he got the ball, man, he could just. Yeah. Okay, most physically imposing recruit you covered.
I mean, oh God, I know there's a bunch of them, obviously. McKeefen, I mean, he was a pretty big guy. Calvin Bryant, the offensive lineman. And this is like might have been John Bunning.
Okay.
He had a massive head, but he was like a huge human being.
Yeah.
I got one. Oh God, what is this? Is it Jordan Davis at Georgia now, North
Yeah.
Carolina?
Yep.
Huge human being.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Um, the best lockdown corner you've seen as a recruit.
I mean, I gotta go.
Grime dog.
Who?
Grime dog.
Yeah, I gotta go him. I mean, in 7-on-7 or 1-on-1 situations when he was a recruit. I mean, you think he's good now. I mean, obviously the competition is better, but against guys who were significantly less talented than him, I mean, he just shut dudes down.
Do you think he'll be an All-American at UNC? First team All-American.
It's easy to say yes,
It's hard,
but it's hard to do because
you have to have
there are
the
a lot of
stats.
factors. Well, you have to have the stats, and it's hard at corner to get the stats, and then also it depends on who else is out there and who's getting the hype and all that. So it's almost, if it was done in a vacuum, you say yes, but I mean it's not.
I mean, look, it's two or three people a year that get first team All-American
Yeah.
corner. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, best smack talk, or I guess most biggest smack talker, best smack talker as a recruit.
Trey Boston.
Wow. Okay, so not Gavin Blackwell. You love Gavin Blackwell.
I love Gavin Blackwell, and he's definitely a big smack talker. I mean, so is another one who, and UNC fans are going to like this, Mario Love, who committed to NC State. Big smack talker.
Okay.
Big.
But Trey Boston, a little bit more on Trey Boston. He's been a great kind of ambassador for UNC.
Yeah, so Boston is just not this. It's just not the smack talking. Well, it's the constantly running of the mouth, but funny, creative. Yeah, so that's what I would go with.
Okay, and best overall recruit that has come to UNC.
I mean,
it's kind of hard to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know how to.
Like, I guess the top ranked guy that you thought was the best player when he committed to UNC ever.
Well, we can go Tony Grimes again.
Yeah.
I mean, because I think Marvin Austin, technically, with the numbers, if you look at the ratings, he would be. But let's go Tony Grimes.
Okay. All right. Next question. Don, can you go into a little more about UNC's offensive line recruiting? Let me finish the question. It seems like under Mac Brown, they're almost exclusively recruiting tackles and then moving them inside. Does anyone else do this? Outside of athleticism, is there any other reason? Can a 6'5" guy with long arms play center and guard? Is there a certain center type in recruiting? Some of these questions have been mentioned in passing, but some more in-depth analysis would be most appreciated.
Yeah, so because I've been asked this question a bunch recently, I have been talking to a bunch of sources to get my head around the whole idea. And so basically, the way North Carolina approaches it is that they only recruit offensive tackles and centers.
Mm-hmm.
And the thinking being that a tackle can easily move to guard, but a guard can't move the tackle for the most part. Centers are a completely different mindset. There's things that you are comfortable with, I guess, allowing if the guy is capable of snapping the ball and then immediately blocking. The problem with center, though, and this is why you haven't seen a whole lot of centers being offered, is that there aren't a whole lot of true high school centers. And so what has happened for North Carolina is that if you don't find a center, then you just take a bunch of tackles and figure that one of these guys hopefully will move to center.
Or take a guard, right? Who could potentially play guard or center.
Well, so
like Adorno, for example.
But Adorno was taken as a tackle. And the interesting thing about him is that if you read his, and I went back and looked at his Q&A after he committed, is that he literally says that I'll either play tackle or guard in North Carolina. They have not mentioned center. I mean, that's almost word for word what he said. So it's interesting that shortly after stepping foot on campus, he's moved to center immediately.
Once you commit and sign, they can do whatever they want with you.
Yeah. So, and then you see, Greg reported that AJ Beatty from the defensive line was moved to center. So there's a lot of that. So it's hard to find centers, and especially in a pandemic where you can't see these guys in person, it's really hard to find centers. Yeah.
Seeing a guy snap is kind of a big thing. Like seeing them snap in person.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you answer everything there? Can a guy with 6'5" guy with long arms play center and guard?
Yeah. I mean, it's such a general question, but yeah, I mean, it could happen.
Yeah. I mean, do you want a center to be a little bit shorter? Like, is that a thing? Like 6'3" instead of 6'6"?
I I th- I think so, but I don't. I think there's just so many other things that are way more important.
Yeah. Because the thing with center, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, like snapping it and then getting up quick to block,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
easier if you're smaller
if
than
I don't know
taller.
if you remember, um, Jonathan Cooper, when
Yeah.
he was kind of groomed before he saw the field in North Carolina, he was groomed for center, and I think it was that game against LSU where all the stuff was happening with the NCAA right beforehand, where he just had an awful game snapping, and then if the coaches were like, "All right, we got to move him to back to guard because this is not working." But if I'm remembering properly, he was groomed early on for center, and it just didn't. Once he got into a game, he just mentally just couldn't handle the snapping and then going to blocking and all that.
Yeah.
So there is some additional stuff to that, and you kind of have to see it under fire a little bit.
All right. Good stuff there. Good conversation there, Donald. All right. Moving on. We have a couple left here. Why don't y'all allow top five submissions via the message board? Don, I'll let you handle this. You're the big top five guy.
Well, you were the one who kind of set the rule, but
What?
you can. Well, someone posts their top five and you get angry, and I think you try to fight them. But
No, the reason why you're about to say is the reason why. We don't want people to see
yeah,
the top five publicly
yeah.
before we announce it on the show because it
It's like,
affects what other people say.
do you show people your gifts you got them for their birthday or Christmas before you wrap them and hand them to them? No.
Okay, so that's why. How can they answer the top five, Don?
They can send it to me on the message board by PMing me directly on
So not on
Twitter.
the message board by PMing you. That's different than message board
Yeah, I mean, but you're physically on the
on
message board.
Inside Carolina.
Yes. Um, Twitter at Don Callahan IC or email Don at InsideCarolina.com.
There you go. Okay. Any crazy experiences with recruits, parents, or family? You don't have to name names.
Yes.
You don't have to name
All
names.
right.
But if you just want to
So,
say some stuff about.
yeah, I mean, I don't think any of this is all that. I've had parents a lot of times reach out to, like, I get a phone call from UNC saying, "Hey, you said this." But the craziest one is someone who was on North Carolina's team last year. Their mother got mad because I was hyping up another, a teammate of her son's was at a North Carolina camp. None of her sons were at that camp. And I was hyping up that teammate, and I guess my wording was offensive to the mother, and she reached out to UNC, and UNC got a call. I every once in a while, it's very difficult for me to be completely honest about negative things because one, the family members, um, and the recruits themselves will get offended. I've had that happen, and trust me, there are tons of recruits who have read stuff of mine and said, "Hey, I saw that. I actually appreciate that. I'm going to work on that." And I don't know if he's bullshitting me or what, but I've had that happen a lot. But there are that, and then you have anytime you post anything negative, you get a bunch of downvotes from posters, and I don't care, but I think it's petty when people do that. Like I hate to break it to you, but there are negative things about North Carolina. There just are. You know what I mean? And are negative things about the recruits, about their players, and all that sort of stuff. And if you can't handle it, then maybe you shouldn't be on a message board. Anyway, I went I went in the wrong direction with that. But yeah, so I mean that has happened. I've had there.
Any like threatening at a camp or like,
No, I've never had
I'm gonna find you.
no, I've never received any sort of threats. It's mostly they go to the coaches, and then the coaches come to me, or you get anonymous post responses, and
Yeah. Okay.
so yeah.
I'm trying to think if I've had any. I had an interesting interaction on the phone with Luke May's dad.
Really, he is super nice. I'm
He's great.
surprised.
He's great. That's why I said it's interesting. It wasn't negative. It was just interesting. I don't think I can really talk about it.
God,
But
bring
in
it up, but you can't
since,
talk about.
but it wasn't bad or anything. But since, yeah, he's been great. See him at games. See him at baseball games, at UNC basketball
Super,
games.
like the nicest family.
Yes.
Really the nicest family.
Yeah. This was UNC had not offered Luke May yet,
Mm-hmm.
and I was trying to get information. Before I was at Carolina, I did football recruiting, beat Don, scoop Don all the time. I did basketball recruiting, and I covered the team, and I handled the message board.
Mm-mm-mm.
Not to brag.
Mm-mm-mm.
And so I was just kind of trying to gauge Luke May's recruitment, and I think Mr. May was just kind of like was telling me about his son and how like he's being overlooked and underrated, and like he's better than the offers he has and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I get that all the
And
time. It's never
proved to
really
be true. He was a great player.
So let me ask you, when you were covering football recruiting, covering basketball recruiting, covering the basketball team, covering women's lacrosse, covering all that sort of stuff, did it like interfere with your time in the nursing home reading to the elderly?
What do you mean? Oh,
Like were you still able to go there?
I don't even remember how I got it all done.
It's amazing.
Yeah, but I was doing it so well that y'all had to just bring me on because I was scooping Don too much. It was embarrassing to him.
Something like that.
Don wouldn't talk to me after I scooped him on some Zamir White news.
We already talked about that. You didn't scoop me on it. But anyway.
Okay, next question.
I actually posted it first. You just went and posted it after me and made it free. That's what irritated me. I posted it first as a premium.
I had it. I didn't get it from you. I had it as well.
I hope so.
That was my only way to beat Inside Carolina was to make stuff that I had free and not put it behind a paywall.
I guess.
Because like I want people to see it. All right. Who would win if you and Don played a game of horse?
Me, easily. When's the last time you played basketball?
Since COVID, I haven't played too much. For the record, guys, I would beat Don every single sport.
No way.
Ever.
No way.
What sport would you beat me in?
Well, horse. I would beat you
Not
in.
sport, but I'd beat you in horse.
All right. 1-on-1 basketball.
I'd kill you.
Don. I would kill you.
I don't think Don. First of all, I'm 5 inches taller than you.
So that would definitely help you. But
and I mean,
I'm gritty out there.
Not to bring up physical fitness, but
I'm a
little better shape than you.
There would definitely be a way for you to beat me. You'd have to basically tire me out.
Yeah.
And that would definitely put you at a
Okay, I mean basketball's a non-starter. I'd kill you in basketball. What else could you?
No way.
What else could you beat me in?
I beat you in a MMA fight. I put you in a guillotine and be over.
How many? If we live streamed a one-on-one fight, just wrestling MMA, how many people do you think would watch?
Like no one.
I think we put on Inside Carolina YouTube. We get a bunch of. I mean, I'd watch that rather than watching us sit around and talk about recruits.
I suppose, but we'd have someone complain about violence, and
I think people would pay to watch it. If we did in the man cave.
How about on the trampoline?
You have a trampoline?
Yeah, in the backyard.
I'd beat you in every sport. Okay, and we were done with the football talk, by the way. These are only the questions left are off topic. Okay, next one.
This one should be interesting.
Yeah. What would happen if you two swapped lives for a week? Who would struggle more? Could Don handle the early morning workouts and the healthy food? Could Rossi Scoops take care of Don's children? Watch the Philadelphia Flyers? And what's this word?
Ostensibly.
Yeah, you use it a lot. What does that even mean?
It means appearing as such, but might not be the case.
Okay, and ostensibly write the weekly scoop.
So
okay, Don, I'll let you go first.
So I would struggle with the healthy food. That'd probably be the biggest thing. I could do the morning workouts. I would die, but I could do them. I think that I don't think you realize the true I don't know what the word is, like the responsibility with the kids. Like yesterday I'm working on my stuff that I got to get done, and my daughter runs up here and is like, I have to hand this math project in 15 minutes. I need your help. I don't understand this. And I got to drop everything and help her. I don't think that's that sort of stuff. And I don't think that you would like where, you got your kids have basketball practice at 7 and you want to go skiing and you gotta alter your skiing plans because you won't be able to go skiing. Now, the other thing I'll struggle with is juggling all the women. You know,
Chill.
I am old, and so I mean, one woman is drives me plenty crazy, and you know, 4 or 5, it would be tough for me to do. I don't, you know.
Chill. Okay. First of all, I've seen Don's parenting style, and I would call it very hands off. I think because Don's kids are like pretty much grown. I mean, he has how old your your kids are the same age, right?
Basically, my
Roughly.
my daughter will be 14 on Saturday actually, and my son turned 14 last month.
So the hard part's done. I mean, you're entering the teenage years, but they can care for themselves. They can feed themselves. They can put themselves to sleep.
Dude, you get the attitudes. You get
Yeah,
that.
you do have the teenage years, which
Yeah, which is not fun.
yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna. My life's pretty easy. I mean, I don't have much responsibilities. Now, Don says he could handle the morning workouts. First of all, he could not. He Don's workouts consist of him on a bike riding at a luxurious pace for 10 minutes
That's
and
no.
then
First of
walking
all,
around the neighborhood.
it's 20 minutes,
Don doesn't know what a hard workout is.
and I must do 4 miles. I cannot get off until I do 4 miles. So I do go at a pretty
Slow.
hefty pace. Um.
I'm
So
saying,
all right. So give me your workout from this morning.
well, I mean, I'm in a different scenario right now where I'm not working out every morning.
Oh man.
But when I am in my regiment in Chapel Hill, yeah, I mean, you wake up at 5:05.
Why 5:05?
Just because the workout starts at 5:30.
So why not 5?
I want that five extra minutes of sleep.
That alone would bother me. But
Yeah,
go ahead.
5:05. You know, it takes about 10 minutes to kind of put the clothes on, maybe drink some water, wake up, get out the door, and then so it's 5:15. Yeah, and then you have about 10 minutes to get to the workout, 10, 15 minutes to get to the workout, depending where it is. You would if you posted a workout with me, if you came to a morning workout, I mean, you would probably throw up and struggle.
Wait, so tell me what the workout is. Tell me what the workout is.
Run a mile, then find a hill, 10 push-ups at the bottom, 10 air squats at the top. Keep doing that up and down the hill. And then, I mean, just push-ups, sit-ups, a lot of different upper body workouts, a lot of sprinting, burpees. I mean, you probably don't even know what a burpee is.
I do know. We call them up-downs.
I mean,
yeah.
I don't think you would struggle with it, but I would love for you to come out and do it. And Ben, our boss, Ben, is in the same workout group as me.
Well, so I'm not saying that it would be the most comfortable thing and I would enjoy it. I would hate it. But I think I could do it for, they say it was a week. I think I could do it for a week. I would be
struggle
dead
the first couple times.
I would be dead by the end of the week.
Yeah,
but I could do it. And so is it a complete run for a mile? Like no warm up?
I mean, that's part of it. Yeah. I mean, then some workouts are just runs. So it's just 6 miles, 6.5 mile runs.
I would struggle with the 6.
Yeah, I'm a bad runner. I'm not saying I'm a good runner or anything, but I think the food thing, honestly, I eat bad sometimes too. People act like, some 100% healthy eater. I mean, I know how to eat very, very sloppy sometimes. So I think you could handle my diet.
I struggle with my diet.
You'd probably eat some things that you've never eaten before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I would hate watching Philadelphia Flyers. I used to be a waste of time. I'd be like, why am I watching the Phillies and the Flyers?
Ross, you just don't understand.
Okay. Good question. Good little conversation there. Yeah, let's get to the top 5. You ready, Dom?
I am ready.
Okay, so you go ahead.
I'll read the so I think the first one, why don't we do this? The first one is your top 5. So why don't you read that one?
Preview the top 5. What is it? What are we doing?
All right. So your top 5 are the top 5 things you did as opposed to playing video games. My top 5 are the top 5 improvements to the new NCAA football game that's coming back out.
Okay, you read the ones that are football related.
What? Then you read the first one.
No, you read the one about Tecmo Bowl or whatever it is. Read the
no,
ones.
no. This is for some reason this guy thinks.
Yeah, you read the ones about the NCAA football one first. Let's get all this out of the way.
Fine. Okay. All right. So Donald from Texas. Number 5, more realistic recruiting experience that allows us to recruit and sign underclassmen. Number 4, include a My Player mode that lets us manage our player from the classroom to the field and everything in between. Number 3, more realistic in-game experience when it comes to penalties. Nothing worse than getting a pass interference or roughing the passer by the CPU. Has never gotten these penalties. Number 2, allow you to hire a full coaching staff to help with recruiting and game strategy. Number 1, realistic players with names, numbers, and likeness. Uh, David from NYC. Number 5, can't really think. Or number 4, he only has 4. For the game day experience itself, would like to see the playbook evolve to what we were seeing today. Number 3, as head coach in a dynasty, there should be a fundraising element involving with AD boosters, upgrade weight room, locker room, player lounge, and see the benefit in recruiting. Also, would be interesting to have an assistant pool of money for an OCDC so you could poach from other schools, or they take yours if you don't pay up. Number 2, transfer portal needs to be added in the dynasty for roster building. Number 1, option to cheat in recruiting. I guarantee they're not going to do this. Give recruits cash benefits, and you land more of them, but there's also the chance of the NCAA investigating scholarship loss ball bans. All right.
I like that. I think he had a lot of good ideas.
All right. All right. So let's go with Josh in Hillsborough.
Okay.
Number 5, random assignment of early enrollee status for recruits. Number 4, facility upgrades. Number 3, random eligibility consequences. In Dynasty Mode, it should be possible for teams to have certain players ineligible for academic or behavioral malfeasance for any number of weeks. Number 2, academic considerations. Assign academic prowess to recruits, just as is the case for speed, catching, I don't know if they're going to do that either. Catching, tackling, etc. And number 1, once achieving the role of head coach, you should have some role in choosing your coordinators if you have an opening.
Okay.
All right. Vlad from Earth. Number 5, transfer portal.
Okay.
Number 4, facilities/stadium upgrades. Number 3, jersey editor for existing teams. Number 2, control over coordinator hiring as a head coach. That's been, a lot of people have said that. And number 1, customizable playoff scenarios, including number of teams and conference tie-in rules. And let's see, Matt from Cullowhee,
North Carolina.
Cullowhee. Number 5, All-Star Games and Senior Bowl and RTG Camp series. Sorry. Number 4, transfer portal. Number 3, all FBS and FCS schools. Notre Dame actually said right now they will not be involved unless the name, image, likeness stuff is fixed. Number 2, actual high school and JUCO player ranking. Number 1, spring game. All right, the last guy.
One.
Oh, Trevor from Chapel Hill. Number 5, more realistic recruiting rankings similar to 24/7 Sports Rivals. Number 4, more in-depth recruiting experience. Number 3, option to recruit other position coaches from different programs. Number 2, in Dynasty Mode, option to upgrade field/facilities. And number 1, customizable recruiting classes, similar to what you have on 2K in my GM mode. I haven't played 2K in a very long time, so I don't know what that means. All right, so that's all of mine. You want to read yours before we get to
Yeah,
ours?
I thought those were good. I mean, it seems like I've heard great things about this game. I'm not a big video game guy, but it seems like there's a lot of things you can do or try to do to evolve your roster and evolve your team, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the current game came out in 2013, and it was actually, I thought it was a lot of fun as far as what you can do in the Dynasty mode.
Yeah. All right, great. So these are things that people do instead of playing video games, right? Is that what we said?
Did growing up besides playing video games?
Yeah, because I did not play video games growing up. I did not have a system, never played NCAA football. Nintendo Techno Bowl. This is John from Lynchburg. Nintendo Techno Bowl. 4, riding my bike to the store to buy a pro wrestling magazine. 3, playing Army in the woods. 2, watching Cubs baseball games on WGN with Harry Carey. Number 1, playing backyard football with my friends. Okay, I'm going to skip Preston from Greensboro. Is he the guy that had the reply last time too? That's so funny.
I don't know who he is, but I love him.
Okay. Is that it? Oh,
So Donald from Texas gave us 2.
okay. He gave top 5 winter activities, which was
Yeah.
like the last episodes. We'll read it though. Appreciate it, Donald. 5, in Texas doesn't get too cold going out, so playing basketball was one of my favorite activities. 4, being a UNC basketball fan. Spent a lot of time watching and researching the men's basketball team. 3, being a big music fan. I would spend a lot of time hanging out with my friends listening to music. 2, internet and chat rooms were hot then, so I spent a lot of time on the web. Did you do a lot of chat rooms?
I did.
What'd you talk about?
Lots of things. Uh,
Are you still in a lot of chat rooms?
I don't. Do they exist?
I don't know.
Because I used to go on AOL. This is high school and college. America Online. They had the chat rooms and everything. What about you? Were you a chat room guy?
No, I mean I did the AOL like messenger.
Instant Messenger? Yeah,
Yeah.
I did that too.
I was like kind of Slack before Slack existed. Texting before texting existed.
Yes.
Chat rooms are wild. I mean, I remember being in some. I mean, that was a weird time in the internet because like it
Yeah.
was still getting on, like still kind of starting on. You just had no idea, but you can all these chat rooms and just chat with strangers across the world.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's some weirdos in there.
Yeah, still are. I mean, there's a lot of weirdos on the internet.
Yep.
A lot of weirdos on this podcast.
Very much so.
Okay. All right, great. I think that's okay.
Luke.
Yeah, Luke from New York. He had some other video games he played. Techno Bowl, or sorry, Super Mario Brothers, Contra.
Like Contra.
Up,
down, left, right, A, B,
yeah.
A.
Mike Tyson Punch Out, Power Pad games, the giant pad you would run on if Ross doesn't know. So this guy seems a little older. Techno Bowl, sweep right or left with either Walter Payton or Bo Jackson, and it's game over.
He loves some Nintendo games.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard some of those.
Well, he also said mostly played outside as a kid and rode my Terminator BMX.
Gotcha. All right, Don, that is our top 5. Appreciate those who submitted. Submit the top 5 for next time we record, which should be in 2 weeks. It's going to be your top 5 movie sequels. For this, I mean, I guess the clarification here is it has to have one movie and then at least a second movie.
Yes.
But you could also do the third or the fourth or the fifth as your favorite sequel.
Okay.
Right?
Could you pick, like, Rocky, for example? I don't know, what, there are 5 or 6.
You would have to say which Rocky you like, I imagine, right?
Could you pick 2 of them or just one?
If 2 of them are your top 5. And I guess same thing with, like, what's the mobster movie?
Godfather.
Yeah. That kind of stuff. Awesome. All right, Don, do you want to do your same upgrades, or are we just going to move on?
All right, let's get mine.
Your
my top 5. Yeah. So number 5 for me, early enrollees, as people said, I think it would be cool because for those who've never played the game, Ross in particular, is that you get during the spring time, your players advance in their ratings. So it'd be cool to be able to sign some freshmen who enroll early and they get the ratings boost before they actually play for you. A lot of people brought this up, but I want to elaborate a little bit. The position coaches, because the last version had the offensive coordinators, but I think position coaches would be cool, but also give them 2 ratings. A coaching rating, which would provide maybe a bump for players at that position, and then also a recruiting ranking, and where you can assign that position coach to recruit certain guys, and it would increase your if you had a really good recruiter, like a Tim Brewster, it would increase your chances of landing the recruits that you assign to him.
Okay.
Number 3, I want a better recruiting calendar. It's very, very just blah. It was realistic. It would be great to have junior days where you invite a bunch of guys. If you want a bunch of guys there, or maybe you want just few guys and you have more of an impact on them because there's less guys, more individual attention. Have summer camps to where you can have the guys in there and get a better idea of their potential ratings and height and weight and all that sort of stuff. Number 2, transfer portal. It kind of sort of had a little bit. They had transfer stuff happening in the game, but obviously a lot of it was if someone wanted to transfer in, they just kind of came and said, this guy wants to transfer in. And you had the choice of whether to accept him or not. It'd be great to have an actual portal to choose from and kind of recruit those guys like you would with recruits. And number 1 for me, and this is something no one brought up, what always drove me nuts, because I was one of those ones that before you could download the rosters from other people, I would try to do as many of the rosters as I could, but they would only have, I think, 55 or 65 players on each roster, I want all 85.
Mm.
So give me 85 scholarships, players on each team, so I don't have to make a choice on whether I want this third stringer or that third stringer on my roster. I want all of them.
Awesome. All right, guys. We appreciate you listening. Appreciate you.
Where's your top
participating.
5?
I mean, what I do instead of playing video games, I played sports. I played outside. I built forts. I played in trees. I mean, I had like a classic American childhood. I wasn't stuck inside staring at a screen. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. We appreciate your support, and we appreciate you participating.